How you doing? So thank you
I'm
for
okay.
joining us, and thank you for helping helping here. What's your role at Policy Connect? And just
So
tell
I'm
people
a
about what you do.
yeah, so Policy Connect is a cross-party think tank, and we provide the secretariat for a lot of different all-party parliamentary groups. And so my role is I'm a policy manager for assistive technology, and we work with the APG for assistive technology.
Cool, great. And I don't know whether you got the memo about describing yourself when you start, but I'll leave you to do that as you pick up the presentation. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks. Yeah, so I was thinking about how to describe myself. I'm a white 31-year-old with short dark hair, and I have had two different dentists tell me that I have a really big mouth. So if you just imagine someone with a giant mouth, you got me. Um, so um, today, yeah, as we're going to be looking at assistive tech policy for employment and beyond. I know today's been a really policy-heavy day, which is good in some ways. You might be feeling a little bit policied out. So I'm going to keep it short and to the point, hopefully give you some interesting information. Yeah, just a little bit. Policy Connect, cross-party think tank. We've been around for 25 years now. I think we're up to about 76 inquiries, so commissions, reports that we've done. And then off the back of those reports, we try and achieve impact by working with parliamentarians. We host over 100 events each year. We are supported by a broad range of organizations, including AbilityNet. So I'm just really excited to talk to you about what we're up to now. I can get my slide. So assistive technology and employment, we feel, is a really important issue now for a wide variety of reasons. So first and foremost, we have increasing rates of disabled people of working age. So that's due to all sorts of reasons. For example, disabled children living longer into adulthood as a result of medical advances. We also have much better identification of invisible disabilities like autism, dyslexia, ADHD, mental illnesses. And so as we have better identification and higher rates of diagnosis, we're also going to have more people in the workplace who would benefit from adjustment or who would be seeking inclusive practices. And we also have an aging population. So the UK has an aging population generally, and more specifically, we have an aging workforce. Those people tend to stay in work for longer. They are more likely to acquire an impairment while they are in work. And those impairment, we usually expect those to be things like vision impairments, hearing impairments, and motor impairments. And we know that about 300,000 people every year are forced to leave work or move out of work as a result of an acquired disability or long-term condition. So that's a really important aspect. We also have this incredible emphasis on digital skills. So government commissioned research stated that digital skills are a near universal requirement of finding a job. And so even if we're not talking about techie jobs or jobs that require you to be tech savvy, the act of finding work and applying for work, all of that really more and more so requires some level of digital skills. And I'm sure you've heard from other people about the digital skills gap between disabled and non-disabled people in the UK. Of course, a little bit more broadly, we've got the fourth industrial revolution, which is set to disrupt many different industries and set to create a whole bunch of new jobs. And so ensuring that disabled people have the same opportunities to learn digital skills, the same ability to access and do those tech roles is really important for ensuring that that gap isn't getting bigger. And we also have, I think a lot of times when we think about assistive technology in the workplace, we think about maybe a white collar worker sitting at their desk, typing away on a policy report. But the reality is that there are so many different kinds of technologies that are available that aren't desk-based and that would be appropriate support for different employees in different kinds of roles. Whether those roles be somewhere where things are really high security, like working as a prison officer. Those roles are where you need to go into people's houses to do repairs. There is technology out there that can support disabled people in those roles. And we're really keen to make sure that people are aware of and have access to those things. Of course, COVID has affected all of us, as a massive effect on our society. So we had this huge shift to remote working, which represented fabulous opportunity for many disabled people who had been requesting this as a reasonable adjustment for many years. And so we see this as an opportunity to kind of build in this as a standard inclusive practice. However, when disabled people are forced to start working remotely, or if anyone is forced to start working remotely, that also raises all sorts of challenges when it comes to assistive technology. I know I have 2 colleagues that use assistive tech. We have a whole security system to work from home, and we still haven't sorted the bugs with the security system and our colleagues. And so this is a really significant issue, particularly as we see more people starting to go back to the office, and disabled people may need to stay and continue working remotely for longer because they might need to shield. And so, yet again, it feels like the stakes are higher for disabled people that we sort of get this right. And finally, as part of COVID, the government has really committed itself to this Build Back Better agenda, and really trying to ensure that as many people as possible are in work that they want to be doing. And so, as part of that, some of the new programs that we are looking at is Kickstart and the JETS program. And so I realized that my little clicker, when I was trying to click through the slides, I made an error. So I'm just going to go back to the last slide. So that's a little overview of why 18 employment now. But what we're actually doing is a commission onto assistive tech and transitions into employment. So that is being co-chaired by Lord Shinquin and Lillian Greenwood MP. They are also co-chairs of our APPG. They're incredibly involved and fabulously hardworking. So we're really grateful to have them aboard. And our previous co-chair, some of you might be familiar with Seema Malhotra. She is now Shadow Minister for Employment. So it's great to have her in that employment role, kind of beating the technology and disability drum for us. Skip ahead now. Right. So for our inquiry, we really wanted to focus on transitions. And that is because we have done a lot of work in the past, and we've heard over and over again from stakeholders that it is when a person needs to transition from one setting to another, or often from working with one government department to another, that some of the hardest problems can come up and some of the worst experiences might be had. So that is why we wanted to focus on those transitions into employment. And we also think that there's some really important issues to do with technology and digital accessibility in terms of obtaining work in the first place. So through the commission, we have been obviously looking a lot at the experiences of disabled people. That is what drives us. In addition to that, we've also been looking at education practices and employer practices. So looking at what happens to a disabled person who's studying at university and then is trying to enter the workplace, and how does that relate to their assistive technology provision? On the other hand, looking at people moving from further education into employment, what does that transition look like? And it's a very different kind of path. We've also been looking at employer practices, and so thinking about what are employers doing to ensure that their recruitment practices are inclusive, but also how are employers engaging with some of the government programs and support that's out there. How are employers finding the experience of disability competent and access to work? Speaking of disability competent and access to work, of course, we looked a lot at government programs. So assistive technology, it comes up here and there. It's kind of a broad thing. And so just a few of the programs that we've been looking at are access to work, disability confident, the disabled students allowance, Job Center Plus, and again, Kickstart and JETS. And so after we have done all of our analysis, we'll start to build our recommendations for government. And we will also be making recommendations to educational institutions and employers. And the entire focus is going to be very focused on experiences of disabled people trying to enter work and where digital inaccessibility comes into play. How is technology helping them or preventing them from moving into the work that they want? I'm now going to sort of broaden out a little bit and talk to you a bit more about sort of AT policy more generally. I thought I might be losing some of you at this point, so I've included a photo of my new puppy, Ziggy. For anyone with visual impairment on the call, Ziggy is gray and white and tiny and adorable. So you just imagine that. One of the main areas where we see assistive tech policy things happening is in education. We have a new SEND system review going on, which is intended to remedy some of the problems left unresolved by the 2014 Children and Families Act. We know that that's quite a difficult one. There's a lot of issues. I'm sure anyone who's involved in education is aware of some of these issues. But what I can say specifically in terms of technology is that we know that the government is interested in how technology can promote better and more inclusive education because of the launch of their EdTech strategy last year, which had a significant assistive tech component. It included 3 national centers of excellence for pupils with SEND, as well as the creation of an assistive tech expert group within the DFE that's helping to advise on the implementation of the strategy. And another really big area that we see in terms of the next year is social care. So social care is an important item in the government's agenda in terms of assistive technology. So I know there's been a lot of delays and confusions around the government's overall plan for social care. And we've got this green paper that we've been waiting for. But we do strongly suspect that technology will be emphasized in the new green paper. And it will be talking about the role of technology to transform care, and specifically maybe in relation to providing more personalized support to people living in their own homes. So trying to increase independent living in people's own homes. Oh, sorry, and I've gotten there. As well, we also have the NHSX. So it's a new government agency which is responsible for the development of all tech policy within the Department of Health and Social Care. And NHSX has also committed itself to making technology innovation and care support a central part of its agenda. So basically we expect to see a lot in terms of education and social care over the next year. And indeed, next week, we are hosting a symposium with the Children and Families Minister, Vicky Ford, on remote learning and SEND. One more slide on a bit of, there we go. I've got another picture of Ziggy. This time he's asleep, so he's probably just as cute, maybe slightly cuter. You can imagine that. All of you, or many of you on the call, will probably be aware of some of the other things that's gone on with the public sector bodies, web accessibility regulations. We did an inquiry on that in 2018, specifically in regards to how they would impact higher education providers. And this is a really important bit of work. I mean, this is really exciting in terms of disabled people's ability to access public services and education. And just because the regulations have kind of fully come into force as of September this year, it doesn't mean the work there is done. So we will be continuing to kind of push for that. We've also got the government industrial strategy. So over the past few years, we've kind of seen the government inching towards formally recognizing assistive tech as a really important strand of our research and development as a country. So in 2018, they invested $98 million in the Aging Grand Challenge to support inclusive innovations to help meet the needs of the aging population. But also, for the first time this summer, the government's newly published research and development roadmap specifically mentioned that they were committed to investing in world-class assistive technology. So it's great to see the government thinking about that from a research and development funding point of view. And then finally, I wanted to bring up the National Strategy for Disabled People. I know you had a fabulous talk earlier today from Alex Fleming in the Cabinet Office. I'm not going to go into the details, but I wanted to bring it up to bring it back to our commission, because we are hoping to influence the strategy a bit with our commission, specifically because the strategy represents an opportunity for different government departments to work together and to kind of smooth those fault lines. And in terms of employment, from my point of view, from what we've seen from the commission, it's really key that PFE and DWP are working together to get that transition right and to ensure that we are making that disabled students, disabled young people have the same opportunity to transition into work as everyone else. So, I'm right on time. My last slide here is just a thank you with some contact details. I did want to point out that we do have an assistive tech user survey out where anyone who uses assistive tech themselves can give us some feedback, which we will use in our commission. And it's 5 short questions. The link is on there. We would love to hear from everyone. Please share it wide and far. I've also included my email, a link to sign up for our newsletter, which is a great way to sort of keep abreast of everything that's going on within AT and in the policy world. And you've also got our Twitter contacts on there. So I think that's it from me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Geena. Fantastic session. Thank you very much. And the best description so far, I have to say, with the, I don't know where this wide mouth thing comes from, but.
No idea, right?
No, so we'll circulate the slides around, and the survey that you mentioned, we'll obviously highlight that as well. So thank you very much. We've got some questions that have come in, but what we'll do is we'll circulate those to you as well. Only 1 or 2 particular to this, and then I'll get that back into an FAQ when we publish the materials afterwards. So thank you very much for your support. And as you said, bang on time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.